Alhamdulillah, we managed to learn about discipline and how to apply Mr. Zaid's tips for money management in order to achieve effective financial management. Alhamdulillah. So right now, let's proceed to our next segment, which is a presentation and panel discussion on Islamic finance in Singapore, updates as well as anticipated developments. With that, let me introduce to you our moderator for the session. Mr. Raj Muhammad, or Raj, as he is commonly known, has been in the financial industry for over 90 years. Having worked in the risk management and private banking, it provided him an invaluable opportunity to understand the workings of the conventional financial markets. Raj also spent time in Europe and has traveled extensively to Asia and the Middle East. The many years in the financial industry means, including the 2008, he has seen some 4 financial crises since the 1995 Barings Bank fallout. Following the banking experiences, he went on to work with Bloomberg Financial Data in management capacity, covering businesses in most of Asia. His introduction to Islamic finance paved the way to offer Islamic finance advisory and consultancy services for Singapore. Mr. Raj is a regular speaker in Islamic finance conferences globally and is also a resourceful person, often appearing in CNBC, Reuters, Bloomberg, and Channel News Asia commenting on Islamic finance. With that, everyone, please welcome Mr. Raj Muhammad onto the stage.
Thank you.
Okay, now let me introduce to you our first speaker on the panel. Ustaz Aminuddin Abu Bakar is currently the principal consultant for S-Tradition, a boutique consultancy firm in the Islamic finance industry. He was part of the senior management team for Kuwait Finance House Malaysia, having served as a vice president and head of its Sharia division. He holds a degree in Islamic law from Al-Azhar University and has an international executive MBA from University of Strathclyde in the UK with distinction. He is appointed as a Sharia committee member for HSBC Amanah Malaysia and Financial Sharia Advisory and Consultancy in Singapore. He is a certified Sharia advisor and auditor by the Auditing and Accounting Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions, a certified Sharia advisor and member of the Association of Sharia Advisors in Islamic Finance, and is a registered Sharia advisor at Securities Commission Malaysia. He has nearly 2 decades of working experience in the areas of Sharia, Islamic finance, and socio-religious development. With that, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ustaz onto the stage. Alright, let's move on to our second speaker. Fakhruddin Kamal is a trading representative for CGS International with expertise in equities and experiences in fixed income, margin, and leverage accounts. He specializes in market analysis to drive strategic decision-making and optimize investment strategies. Fakhruddin holds a degree in Islamic banking and finance from Jordan, combining traditional financial knowledge with a focus on ethical and Sharia-compliant practices. He is dedicated to navigating diverse markets and optimizing investment strategies. With that, everyone, please let us welcome Fakhruddin Kamal onto the stage. And last but not least, our final speaker for the panel. Sani Hamid currently holds the position of Director, Economy and Market Strategy in Financial Alliance. He also heads the Financial Alliance Islamic Wealth Advisory division within the company. Sani has more than 23 years of working experience in the financial markets, having worked for companies such as S&P MMS, where he led a team of analysts covering emerging Asian economies, including BNP Paribas Peregrine as a senior economist, as well as at S&P Ratings as a director in the sovereign team overseeing the ratings of countries such as Indonesia, India, Malaysia, and Singapore. He has been widely quoted in the media throughout his career and has spoken at numerous international conferences on a range of topics. He holds a Bachelor in Business with honors from NTU, Singapore, as well as a Master's in Social Sciences in Applied Economics from NUS. He is a certified financial planner and has a certificate in Islamic banking and finance from the International Islamic University of Malaysia. Sani presently sits on the investment committee of the Majlis Ugama Islam Singapura and advises several Muslim welfare organizations on investment matters. He is actively involved with voluntary work with Muslim associations such as MUIS, Mendaki, and others. He is also the advisor to the Debt Advisory Center at Association of Muslim Professionals. With that, everyone, please give it up for Mr. Sani Hamid. I will now hand my time over to the moderator to proceed with the discussion. Thank you.
Hello, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I want to first and foremost congratulate the organizers for having a room full of people even after lunch. I think that's a huge accomplishment. I think we can attribute that to many factors. I think this is an important subject and there's a need for more of similar forums for people to learn, understand and share. That's number one. And number two, and I must also say, looking at the speakers, I think we've got amazing, credible number of people with huge talent and experience who are speaking throughout the day. And I know, almost all of these gentlemen here very well. They're friends, and the amount of experience they've got, it would be, I'm very sure, extremely credible. The way that we're going to do this is each of the speakers is going to spend some 10 minutes or so sharing on subject matter that they are chosen to speak on, and then we will have a panel discussion. I would like to talk less and hear more from the floor because I think you all would have a lot of questions. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Ustad to start off. Ustad Amin to start off.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin. Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. How is everyone doing today? A bit sleepy after consuming your lunch? Hopefully not. Can we have the slides, please? Okay, the topic which I'll be covering inshallah today is to talk about the Sharia views and Sharia issues concerning to cryptocurrency. Can we have a show of hands? Who here has purchased any form of cryptocurrencies? Nobody? Okay, so quite a few. Alright, maybe you can tell me, what is the hukum for cryptocurrency?
Haram.
Yes, those who raised their hands just now. Okay. Just kidding. What we'll do today is, again, on the issue of cryptocurrency, there are differing views. before we move into perhaps understanding what exactly it is, I'll be sharing today, next slide please, on two pertinent issues, two pertinent Sharia issues when we talk about the permissibility to purchase or to sell cryptocurrencies or crypto assets, and the second item, which I think is actually more pressing and requires a bit more attention. What exactly are the Sharia issues when it comes to participating within the cryptocurrency ecosystem? When you do staking, what are the smart contracts involved? Okay, when you tokenize projects and initiatives, and when you participate in liquidity pools that facilitate certain functions or certain smart contracts or certain applications in the decentralized apps. So how exactly do we look at it from a Sharia perspective? Next slide. Okay, Sharia views on crypto as a digital asset. I've been following and listening in to the discussion that the mashayikh, the fuqaha and ulama around the world have been talking about and deliberating when it comes to the issue of whether it's permissible to purchase cryptocurrency and to sell them. And one case in particular is the issue of Bitcoin. I remember back in 2016, 2017, that was when the issue started to be discussed. And I was in the Middle East when I recall that those who had declared it or gave the view that it is permissible, an example being Dr. Muhammad Abdul Razak Al-Tabari from Kuwait. He said that the issue of Bitcoin as a digital asset, so what is it exactly and can it be traded? So he likened it, he finds that it is similar to the sale and purchase of, let's say, a license plate. Okay? It is just digits whereby the regulator has an authority to sell them, and it is when the buyer, the one who intends to get that particular license plate, they put a value to it and that item is being traded. So what is that exactly? It is a right, okay, for that numbers. So Bitcoin, in essence, it's a digital asset, okay, that is verifiable through programming, through coding, and henceforth he is of the view that it is permissible. And the basis of that is when we look back at the classical text of Usul Fiqh, there's this Masdar Sharia source which the Usuliyun use, others just have. It entails Baqa'ul Hukum ala ma kan, retaining a hukum as what it has or as what it is before. And from it come a qa'idah al-fiqhiyah, al-aslu fi al-ashya' al-ibaha. The original ruling for a certain or for issues are actually permissible. Hatta yadullu dalil ala tahrim. Until there is an evidence that states or that says that it is impermissible. So crypto is an innovative product, right? It wasn't around definitely 2-3 decades ago, let alone during the time of the beloved Prophet ﷺ, during the early years of the tashri' of our religion. But through usul fiqh, okay, through understanding what is the methodology of deriving rulings, we can actually understand, okay, how do we apply such a ruling for crypto. Now, there are also some ulama, okay, those are the list of some of the scholars that allows Bitcoin and other forms of cryptocurrencies, but they define it as digital assets and not really currencies. And if you look at the mashayikh and the fuqaha who says that it is impermissible, like Al-Marhum, Shaykh Abdul Sattar Al-Buhuda and the likes, okay, there are several things which for them they find these are the items that make it impermissible, right? So for the first item, there is no central governing authority regulating the cryptocurrencies. But if you look at the white paper that came out by the person who purportedly came up with Bitcoin, his name is Mr. Satoshi, right? So the whole idea is to decentralize so that it would not be subject to what do you call it, the massive printing of irresponsible governments. So the whole idea of crypto as a digital asset or cryptocurrencies is for it to be decentralized and to have a public ledger, right? Shared open source public ledger, so that everyone can verify that such, so it would not be manipulated. The second item, gharar, I will deliberate further after this, and some of them view that it causes harm because there are illegal purchases, being illegal transactions that are being used using cryptocurrencies as a medium. But if you look at it further, that is a tahrim li-ghayr, meaning that yes, such items are impermissible, but it is the ruling is impermissible because of other factors, because of the what do you call it, illegal or harmful transactions that makes it impermissible, similar to our currency. Alright, so and we can't say that it is haram that the Bitcoin itself is haram, but rather it is somewhat to be neutral. So it depends on how you use it. And it is okay. And if you look at the deliberation, many of them are of the view that it is impermissible because cryptocurrencies lack the features or the criteria to be a currency. And we know that currencies, some of the function of a currency is storage of value, unit of account, and medium of exchange. So if you look at cryptocurrencies, due to the fluctuation, is it an appropriate place for you to store your value? Is it an appropriate place for you to actually account for the value of things that are around us? How much does a mineral water cost? Say 1 Bitcoin or 1 Ethereum, and you compare that in relation to others. We don't use that as a unit of account. So they are of the view that it is impermissible due to those factors. But again, I would like to reiterate, both views are coming from our fuqaha mu'tabara. These are the scholars who are mu'tabara, recognized, and they hold their views. And as mustafti, for us who likes to seek the advice and the view of a particular scholar, you can actually follow either view. Okay? Because for both of them, they have their basis. I am of the mild or of the view and inclination of following the view that it is permissible. Okay? And again, you have to look at every single cryptocurrency to identify its features and what exactly they are. But on major cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some few others, I am pretty comfortable to say that it is permissible. And even for myself, I have purchased cryptocurrencies. But a point which I would like to also highlight, I think for the benefit of everyone, is that cryptocurrency, if you see it as a form of investment, make sure you yourself, before that, have an investment strategy. How exactly do you manage your personal finance? How do you ensure that your income is coming from the best sources, halal sources, where we hope to benefit and get the best and get rahmat and rizki from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And how do we manage our expenses as best as we can, of course, for the seeking blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as a result of that, how do you create that surplus for you to save some and for you to invest? So have a sound investment strategy before you proceed to looking at crypto as a form of an investment. For myself, I've not, the percentage of my holding hovers around 5% of my whole assets. So I don't think it has ever exceeded 10%, because I find that is an amount which I'm comfortable with. So before you delve into purchasing crypto as an investment, or if you see that it is a form of investment, you have to plan all those and have devised a strategy beforehand. Next slide, please. Okay, now we talk about the issue of gharar. Some of the fuqaha say that it involves gharar. Now, there are several levels of gharar, ambiguity. Gharar means ambiguity, lack of clarity, whether if it is minor or it is excessive. Those who are, or items which are considered to be minor are acceptable, but if it is excessive, many are of the view that it is non-permissible. an application of gharar, it has to be seen from two different angles. Some say that, yes, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, there's gharar, haram. But look at it from two angles. The application of gharar, you have to be fair. If you apply it on the first one, which determines whether if it's okay or not, on the specific pillars or arkan as well as conditions of a contract, if there is massive gharar there, then it may deem the item to be impermissible, whether the parties are there. So if you were to purchase Bitcoin from an exchange, right, who are you buying it from? So are there two parties? There is. Okay, what is the subject matter? You know what you are purchasing, and you know if you had purchased it, you would have you can put inside the wallet with that long address, right? And there is an issue of offer and acceptance. You know what is the price, and you accept it. Okay. On the contrary, if you look at application of gharar to understand what is going to be the outcome of a transaction in the future, whether the price of the cryptocurrency is going to go up or whether it's going to go down, definitely there's gharar. We are uncertain and there are risks associated with it. But just because we can't determine what exactly are the future performance going to be like, we cannot say that it is haram due to that. Okay, so understand how exactly you are applying the concept of gharar or ambiguity. Next slide. Okay, so there are some recommendations. If you talk about speculation and gharar, right? So these are some of the principles or guidelines for us to adhere to ensure that the application of speculation in our investment, okay, may be accepted or can be accepted in Sharia. Number one, the underlying contract of that purchase must fulfill all Sharia requirements, meaning that the asset is there, there's a buyer, there's a seller, right, and there's offer and acceptance, everyone is agreeing to the terms, and you proceed with it. Second item, the speculator does not intend a fictitious activity which leads to the non-realization of the contract's legal effects. So, meaning to say that you are not doing it for fraud, you are in fact genuine in those purchases or in those trading. The speculative activity must entail transfer of ownership from the seller to the buyer. Okay? It should not lead to market instability. And the fifth item, it should be directed to the real economy that serves the Sharia objectives of preservation and growing of our wealth. So these are some of the suggested guidelines as to how do we justify, let's say if you want to speculate on any kind of assets. This one in particular is on Islamic capital market, but similarly applicable to, let's say, crypto assets. Next slide. So from what we've gone through so far, we understand that activities such as investment, speculation, gambling, they all entail risks. But it doesn't mean that all risks are non-permissible, right? There are risks that are acceptable and there are those which are impermissible. And within that, ambiguity or uncertainty, that is what gharar means. Of these activities, there are those which are considered to be investing, right? And there are also items when you are speculating, but still within the ambit of that which are permissible. And there are also occasions when you are gambling. So gambling, it is some definition of it is based on pure chance. It is not a sale or transaction where you put a stake in it, okay, with the possibility that you will win everything or you will lose everything. Okay, so if you are truly buying something but you are speculating on it, it may be deemed to be something which is within the range of haram that are acceptable, and not maisir. Maisir is gambling. All right, moving on. Okay, so now we're gonna go a deep dive into what it means, okay, for the cryptocurrency and its ecosystem. I think Bitcoin is pretty straightforward. Yes, you can continue the slide. Okay, when you make a purchase or you make an exchange, cash with Bitcoin, what happens? Please continue with the slide. Yeah. Okay. Some would argue that this is a smart contract, a verification that happens, that takes place, cryptography to validate this transaction. So, a code, alright, okay, so what happens is, when this transaction happens, it requires validation, okay, through programming, through cryptography, and that, in essence, is next slide. Yeah, just do the whole thing. That is what we call mining, right? That particular transaction, someone has to do that cryptography work, and as a result of what do you gain from doing such an activity? Continue. Okay, requires solving mathematical puzzle, and the success is rewarded with a Bitcoin. So that's called mining. It's highly, at the moment, highly energy intensive. Okay, I don't think any of us have actually performed Bitcoin mining, but perhaps we've staked and we've validated for other forms of cryptocurrency such as Ethereum. Okay, so this is Bitcoin, very straightforward. We call it proof of work. Proof of work. Okay, when you validate that work or that particular transaction, okay, you are rewarded with the Bitcoin. Continue. Okay, so next one, Ethereum. I give an example of an Ethereum. Okay, it's a platform where certain items are being built upon it. Okay, Bitcoin, no. It's just a particular cryptocurrency that is being traded. You can use it as a medium of exchange to make purchases. But Ethereum, there are actually applications being built on top of the platform, right? And Ethereum allows DApps, decentralized apps, okay, to run on a decentralized computation for more complex code execution. So the earlier one was just a simple recording of the transaction of that exchange for Bitcoin. But for Ethereum, within it, things get really complex, and really complex coding are put in place. Okay, continue. For a smart contract. So people in the network use Ether. So Ether is the currency for Ethereum. So when you say you buy Ethereum, you're actually buying Ether, okay, to pay for the code execution. Next one. And what exactly is the code execution? Is for the smart contract within the platform. So Ethereum allow developers to create interactive operations in their smart contracts within the platform that cover multitude of applications such as facilitate the exchange of assets. So they call it decentralized exchange. So you know that if you buy from crypto.com, you buy from previously FTX, Binance, those are centralized exchanges. But none like Uniswap, decentralized applications are built within the ecosystem itself, whereby it is a public, distributed, open source ledger that nobody owns. Okay, so there's a higher level of trust on the code stack. Okay, and then you know there are NFTs and the likes, right? Collectibles, anything of value. Okay, continue. Okay, so this is a proof of stake. So how does it compare to Bitcoin? Continue. Yeah. So smart contract taking place, that decentralized app, it executes a smart contract. Let's give an example of Uniswap. It's an exchange, decentralized exchange, whereby people sell and buy the cryptocurrencies there. So someone has to validate the transaction. Okay, so you validate that, and you will be rewarded with fees and or new Ether. So what you do is you have to stake first. You have to put, for Ethereum, you have to put 32 Ether, okay, as a node for you to be able to perform the validation. So this in itself, there are multiple layers to it. What do you call it? Staking, solo home staking, pooled staking, there's staking as a service, okay? Behind how exactly who are giving that Ether and who is performing the validation. So they are all that. I am of the view that, I've been deliberating a bit on this, but I'm of the view that this is a contract of wakala. If you are not validating yourself, if you are signing someone to validate it for you, and whereby you will be rewarded with Ether subsequent to the validation, you are giving a form of an agency. You are appointing someone to do it on your behalf. Okay, continue. Okay, so again, Ethereum and Polkadot, and within that blockchain system, that blockchain platform, there are decentralized applications being run and executed on top of it. OpenSea, Uniswap, Aave, StellarSwap, Europolis, Lido, and the Polkadot. And there are Solana, whatever it is, and then EOS, and what likes. Okay, so we continue. Okay, my apologies. Just 2 more minutes to cover all this. Okay, this is just a flow that I think you need to understand. Where are the Sharia issues? Okay, let's continue. So, Alright. So the developer develops an application called DeFi, called AVE, within the Ethereum system. Okay, so there's a smart contract that is going to take place there. There's a lending agreement, okay, that's going to take place within this decentralized app called AVE. Next. Now the Sharia issue. When you develop and deploy a lending protocol interest-based, is that allowed? So there's a question. Next. Now, in order to facilitate this app, it requires liquidity pool for people to put in the required types of tokens or cryptocurrencies within the application so that they have enough liquidity to facilitate transactions of interested buyers and sellers. So the second issue, providing liquidity for interest-bearing lending, is that okay or not? So that's the next question. Okay, next. Now, that's when the lending agreement happened. Okay, and the lender, all right, receives interest from the borrower. So that's the third issue, interest-bearing lending. Next. And remember, we were talking about proof of what? Proof of stake, right? So someone is validating every single transaction. So Sharia issue, rewarded for facilitation, is that allowed or not? So this is where you have to question. When you do staking, it is not as simple as you are just putting money there, doing some work, and then you are getting rewarded for it. But you are actually participating in this ecosystem. Alright, next one. Okay, so that one is if an interest lending decentralized app. This is an example of, just continue. Okay, this one is Uniswap, is an exchange. They call it DeFi, DEX, decentralized exchange. Okay, continue, just go until the end. Alright. So similarly, the liquidity pool, alright, that's the item for us to ask. Although it is not an interest or bearing contract, okay, it is an exchange, but what is the Sharia view on the liquidity pool? And then if there is in fact interest, then I'll be allowed to facilitate. But okay, on the bright side of things, I'm going to show you the third scenario. Go ahead. So we look at OpenSea. Next, please. Okay, so it's not all doom and gloom. Everything is not okay within the dApps, because if you look at OpenSea, right? OpenSea is a decentralized marketplace. Okay, decentralized DEX, decentralized exchange that facilitates the transaction for purchases of digital asset. You know, NFTs, right? So you can purchase NFT with a crypto, with a coin or with a token. Okay, and henceforth, if you look at it, I don't see Sharia issue in this particular structure. So there are instances where it is, it looks fine, and there are instances where you have to be more mindful and be more careful. Okay, alright, I won't take any more time. I'll stop here for now.
Thank you very much, Ustad Aminuddin. I know it can be very technical or whatsoever, but I think the core message for the attendees today is, can you or not participate in that class? There's something. So the macro message is, just like stocks, there are so many coins out there, until there are tens of thousands of them, and counting. Similar to stocks, there are some that you can invest and some that you can't, based on the application. Just like you can't buy into a brewery company, you wouldn't buy into a casino company, and etc. So it's the application of. Be heartened by the fact that there are opportunities for you to participate, because this will then translate to diversifying your assets. So we will have Q&A and understand more about it later. And for now, I'd like to invite Ustaz Fakhruddin Kamal, who will give us a sharing on the capital markets, stock, bonds, ETFs, and equities. Please.
Hello. Right, thank you, Mr. Raj. He was my teacher at Al-Junaid, who taught me IFQ. So now I'm sharing this panel with him, so it's a great pleasure of me. Okay, so salam everyone. Initially it was Ustaz Said who was supposed to give this speech, but unfortunately he has something urgent to attend to, so he couldn't give this speech. I'll speak in his stead instead. So, as you guys already know, I'm a trading representative for CGS International. What I do day to day is I execute trades, I analyze trends and macros, I do market analysis, and I help clients make informed decisions with the information that I have at my disposal. Additionally, I handle corporate clients as well as retail clients also, and I know most of you guys are beginner investors. I also onboard new clients. So what I normally do is I will introduce myself, and the first thing I usually ask them is, have you ever invested or traded before? If yes, then great, I'll skip most of the basic stuff and ask them what I can provide for them or what products they're looking for. So if they haven't, and I see myself as a solutions provider, what clients need, I provide for them. So I'll ask them, what is your risk appetite? That's a normal thing that I usually ask to clients who have never traded before. Are you a passive investor or do you have a more aggressive outlook? I will ask this question to everyone. It doesn't matter if you are a well-versed Insti client or a new retail client. And why do I ask this? Because you need to know what you want. Then I can provide the right solutions for you. Okay, so let's say you are a more passive investor. I will normally sway the client towards the Singapore market where the volatility is lower, prices don't fluctuate, and securities are more steady. And on top of that, we have stocks which are high in dividends, such as Hong Kong Land, a major listed property investment offering 6.73% dividends per annum. And if you compare that to fixed deposit in Singapore, which at max you can get like 4.88%, it's a huge difference. Also, you have SIA, which is offering 5.8%, and ComfortDelGro, which is offering 5.12% per annum. And these are all blue chip companies which are Sharia compliant. Okay, so let's say you are even more passive and want a more diversified portfolio. Then I would suggest investing in ETFs, where price fluctuations are even lower, as you're essentially buying a basket of shares, each from different companies, perhaps from different sectors also, and hence reducing company risk and also the sector risk. And I even got clients who wants to be involved in emerging markets such as India, or wants to trade in SG market. Do we have it? Of course we do. We have iShares India ETF, and it is SGD denominated currency, and normally if you buy directly from the Indian market, you have to use their base currency, which is rupees, but that's not the case here when you buy ETF in Singapore. Alternatively, you can look at Nippon India ETF Sharia fees for a Sharia alternative. Okay, I need to apologize first because I don't have the slides for this. I was just informed of it yesterday, so it's a bit haywire for me. Okay, so moving on, what if you want some exposure in the Japanese market, which I think towards the end of last year was doing really well. Well, I got news for you. You can actually look at S&P Japan 500, which you can buy in the US market. It is Sharia compliant. Their 1 year return is 29%, and like I said, in comparison, FD max 4.88%. So this ETF, the Japanese ETF I was talking about, constitutes of companies such as Keyence. It's actually a big company in Japan specializing in development and manufacturing of factory equipment. And also it constitutes of Fast Retailing, or better known as a parent company for Uniqlo. Okay, so how about US markets? Is there an ETF where I can invest in Sharia compliant stocks in the S&P 500? Yes, you can. SP Funds S&P 500 Sharia Industry Exclusions ETF, that's a mouthful. SPUS for short, includes all the Sharia compliant US stocks, such as Microsoft, you got Apple, Nvidia, Meta, Alphabet, or better known as Google. So these are not cheap stocks we are talking about. We're talking about the Magnificent Sevens or some of them. So last year, these S&P 500 Sharia they generated 37.36%, which is more than the conventional S&P 500, which only generated 28.18%, which is a difference of 9%, roughly. So who's to say Sharia compliant investing or products make less money? Okay, well, we'll talk about US market. Investors who are more comfortable with volatile markets, I would normally suggest going for US market, where prices are more volatile and there's more liquidity as more people trade in the US market. If you want more stability also, you want more capital gain, you can look for good companies with stable income and solid cash flows. One example is Meta, which are giving dividends now. Previously they weren't giving, but it is a way to reward their shareholders. You can refer to their earnings, and it's currently earnings season. So now every company is giving out their income statement and the financial sheets, so you can check that online, and I'm sure you'll get all the information you need. Okay, and on the other hand, I also have clients who trades. Some of them are day traders who trades in and out. One of them is my Malay client who I monitor his trades day in, day out. Every morning I read the news, study trends, what's hot and what's not. Then I'll inform him of any news related to his stocks, and he'll make decisions off of what I just told him. And honestly, I think I've been calling him more than I call my fiancé. So, and I also have swing traders whose trades can take a couple of days to months. Also, a Muslim client only trades in Sharia stocks despite the scarcity of Sharia stocks in SG market. But Alhamdulillah, he's been profitable. He's more of an auto client, doesn't engage much with me. But when he needs something specific for me to do, like for example, he's going overseas and needs me to put in orders, I will do it for him. So yeah, he's very experienced in fusing his experience with different trading strategies. You have different strategies such as momentum trades, where you follow a trend which is booming and stock that is hot, or mean reversion trade, where you buy a stock which is declining, but due to macros, price will usually go back to the mean price or average price. So these are just some of the strategies that you can input. But usually for beginner investors, I will suggest you to long the market and put in your money for the long term. So like I said, these are all different types of investors or different traders that I have as my clients. I am simply showing you examples of them. You need to know and identify the strategy that works for you. And if it doesn't, then you need to adapt. And ultimately, what I noticed to be profitable, you need to stick to your plan, but change it if you need to. Also, you need to have the stomach and also patience for this, because not everyone can go through the emotions when your stock is going down, or when the stock is going up and you make impulsive decisions. So you need to keep your emotions in check. Anyway, for me personally, in my short term time investing, trading, I've tried different strategies, and what works best for me is going super long or investing long term in a good stock and let time do its part. Remember that time is your ally. Don't time the market, but instead put time in the market. And before I end, I apologize again, I don't have the deck for visual clarity. But if you have any questions, you can actually approach us on the booth, CGS International. Me and the client relationship manager will assist you with any of your inquiries. If you want to open an account, or if you have opened an account, then we will assist you also. I'll be the one handling the Muslim clients. We also provide mutual funds for clients to buy. If you go outside through preferred banking or private banking, they will charge you 1%, but for us it's only 0.25%. And for the higher net worth people or any institute interested in sukuk bonds, we also provide that. But the notional amount is usually bigger, around 200k USD or 250k USD. So we can provide that for you also. But the important message I want to tell you that is, if you have something that you're interested in, you can just ask us, and if we have the right product, we can definitely provide it for you. Yeah. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ustad. Well, 10 minutes will not do justice for Sunny. I think you would have all seen him in CNA and other channels, but his expertise is in the field of giving us a macro picture of what's happening in the world. So we'll give him a good 10 minutes, but we'll have a lot of questions for him later. Sunny?
Assalamualaikum, everybody. Just waiting for the slides to come on. I'm actually not going to talk to you about macro, but I'm going to talk to you about investments today. I saw from the some of the data given to me by Ridwan, some 50% of you are very new to investments, right? Very new to Islamic finance. 60% of you are looking to learn more about how religion plays a role in investment and many other aspects. Yeah. So my one would be outlook on Islamic finance and especially the investment industry itself to give you an idea of background, so to say. Yeah. Next slide. As usual, we come from a regulated environment, so I will show you this one of those. It's font 6, and I think you can read a single thing, but it protects me. Okay, next please. Okay. All right, so let's start. Before I can tell you about where we are today, let me tell you where we were about more than 10 years ago. That's about 13 years ago. I think that will give you an appreciation of where we are today when we understand where we were 13 years ago. Anybody here is like or had attended my talks way back in 2011? This particular table was actually taken from that talk. I met a gentleman just now who told me, "Sunny, hey, nice to see you. Last saw you 20 years ago." So anyway, so for those of you who are my age, I do apologize. I mean, this you've probably seen this before. This table tells you that I come from Financial Alliance, Islamic Wealth Advisory. We have a booth there. When we came into the picture roughly about 2011, 2012, and we did a scan of the markets itself, we came up with this table. Basically, before the global financial crisis, as you can see, the number of unit trusts that were Sharia compliant, not to say a lot, but there were a handful of them. Unfortunately, right after the global financial crisis, of course, we understand things fell, a lot of people pulled out and such. The number of Sharia compliant funds actually fell quite dramatically, and we were only left with a handful of funds only. Next. And that was a problem. Okay, the words are a bit small, but I can explain to you very clearly. The problem was that with very few funds, and mainly very concentrated into very few industries itself. When we asked clients to go and invest, they were investing in a very non-diversified, very concentrated, very specialized kind of investment fund. You gave me 100,000, I could only put you in, for example, the majority was technology funds. And that wasn't good because if you were a conservative investor, you were a moderate investor, you ought not to be those kind of very high risk. So that was a problem at that particular point. Because that problem could only be solved if we had a myriad, a totally different, an array of different type of asset classes. Then you could mix and match some suko, some equities, and so on and so forth. Then I could actually manage your risk for you. So back then we had that problem, i.e. not enough funds, number one, and most of the funds were concentrated in one sector, mainly technology. Next. So what we did back then was basically, we spoke to our Sharia advisor, Dr. Akram, together with Ustad Harun. We said we have a problem. The community, if we get them to invest, the community will be investing, mainly speaking, in very high risk portfolios. If a conservative investor came to me, makcik-pakcik datang, Cik Sani, saya nak invest, we will be putting them, and saya nak invest Sharia compliant, I don't want anything else. We will be putting them into, for example, equity unit trust, okay, which we thought isn't correct. Okay. So what we did basically was we said we need some leeway. Dr. Akram, our Sharia advisor back then, and he said, yeah, I understand the situation. We don't want to mudaratkan the community, so therefore temporarily, based on the principle of darurah, we will allow the community to invest in non-Sharia compliant unit trusts. Okay, but very similar. But you must understand darurat. Darurat is not a blanket kind of principle where kalau tak ada you boleh ambil lah, whatever there is. No, it comes with terms and conditions itself. Yeah, so I like to always give the example of someone who's lost in the forest. You know, you all understand that principle of darurat, where bila you dah katakan nak mati dah sebab lapar, you know, and then comes on this nice little suckling pig, toing 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 toing. Boleh makan tak? Boleh, correct. For the principle of darurat is to stay alive, you can eat, but there are terms and conditions that apply to it, which is, for example, number one, you tak boleh lah guling makan lah sampai kenyang, kan? You can't. You can only take secebis to keep you alive until you're rescued. And also certain other things, for example, if there was a rabbit and there was a oink here, you cannot say I want to eat the oink. You must eat the rabbit because lesser evil. Yeah, for example, another one. And another one is, for example, you cannot after you're going to rescue, lepas tu you kata, hey, I need to accumulate this liking towards eating that because the darurat has finished already. Okay? So there are many terms and conditions. So based on that, we applied those terms and conditions. And next, please. And we were governed by very stringent. Next slide. Or not next slide. Next. Okay. So how we went about it basically was quite difficult, given that there were no Sharia compliant shares back then. No Sharia. Not say no, but very little Sharia compliant unit trust. The fatwa given to us was choose the one that has the highest component of Sharia compliant shares. Because if you understand unit trust, the unit trust is a fund manager who buys into hundreds and maybe even 200 shares. That's a unit trust. Okay? It's not one single share that the fund manager buys. So me and Harun, I remember back then, say for example in this particular case, in the technology sector, we had to go through each and every one of the unit trusts available, conventional unit trusts in the technology sector. Buka dia punya annual report, quarterly report, semi-annual report. It's because only in those reports they will tell you all the shares that they hold. The fact sheets itself won't tell you. The fact sheets will tell you the top 10 holdings. They will tell you these are the 200 shares that we hold at this particular point in time. So me and Harun had to sit down, open the book, and then using a particular software, Ideal Ratings, which actually told us which share is Sharia compliant, I would sit down there, Apple, Harun, Apple, Sharia compliant, okay. Amazon, Harun, Amazon, tak ada. And so we would actually go through each and every one of those. Can you imagine? That's only for one unit trust. We had to go through each and every one until the point we were able to tell you with absolute certainty that this particular one had 75% Sharia compliance. This particular one had 21% Sharia compliance. Why did we go through the trouble? Because when it's darura, when it's governed by terms and conditions, you do it properly. You don't take the shortcut. Okay? So we did that. And it served us well for a short period of time until, next slide, Alhamdulillah, 2 years later, Franklin Templeton came out and announced that we are launching 3 Sharia compliant unit trusts. And then if you remember, I said darura only lasts until a certain point where the situation exists. After that situation does not exist, you must come out from it, correct? So when they announced it meant that we had Sharia compliant unit trust, not a lot, but enough. And what we did the very next day was this. Next. We actually stopped whatever we were doing. Because again, once the darura does not exist, you must stop whatever you had used in terms of in principle darura and such. And even came out in Berita Harian. This was an article in Berita Harian. Okay? There's a kakak over there looking at my picture and then looking at me. They say, yeah, I say, sure or not. Okay, never mind, I get a lot of that anyway. So basically we withdrew that particular method of trying to ascertain whether a unit trust was Sharia compliant. Okay, next slide. Fast forward all the way until today. Alhamdulillah, that was the U-turn, that was the bottom for the so-called Sharia compliant unit trust in Singapore. Today, these are the available not only Sharia compliant unit trust, but also ETFs, which you heard about just now. Because now we are able to actually gain access to ETFs, not only in Singapore, but even overseas and such. These are the available instruments that you can have to build your so-called Islamic portfolio itself. Okay, next. So today, if you were to ask me my answer to the same question, are we able to build a Sharia compliant portfolio, 100% Sharia compliant? 13 years ago, 12 years ago, 10 years ago, I would say difficult. We could, but we were not allocating it in the right perspective. Today, I can build a Sharia compliant portfolio for you, whether you are an aggressive investor, a moderate investor, a conservative investor, 100% Sharia compliant. So you don't have to worry anymore. Of course, there are some things which I would like to have more. We don't have depth, we have width. What do I mean by that? We have all the asset classes, sukuk, technology, gold mining companies, equities in developed countries, equities in Asians, but we may have only one Sharia compliant unit trust. We don't have like 5 of them in the same category which we could choose from. Okay? But never mind, as Muslims, we say Alhamdulillah, there is, and hopefully further down the road there will be more. Okay? So remember that if you're going out there, you want to build a Sharia compliant portfolio, you can today. Okay? Next. Okay. So in 2024, the other two things, and I'm going to end with second last slide. The other two things which I would like to see, and I think is going to happen, is you saw, prior to this, sorry. Yeah, keep it there. So before this slide, basically you saw all the unit trusts and all those mainly are for retail investors. So if you're a retail investor, you're not high net worth, you have a lot of actually funds to choose from. Actually, the one that's getting a little bit difficult now is high net worth. If you're high net worth, you earn more than 300,000 Sing dollars a year and you qualify as what we call accredited investor. The number of accredited investor funds are very little. You can still buy the retail ones, no problem. But because you are of that category, you sometimes want to find funds which are a little bit more sophisticated. Currently today, on our side, we have only 2 or 3 funds. 2 of them, most recently we added on past couple of years. We have private equity, we even have a private credit dealing in Sharia compliant trade finance. So these are what we call more sophisticated funds. So going down the road, we look to add more of these kind of sophisticated funds because again, we also must understand as the market. So when interest rates were very high, they could still manage these kind of high interest rates, high costs, and so on and so forth. But when you look now into some of these numbers, especially in the US, you see that saving rates have dropped tremendously. You see that basically all the cash that was built up during COVID, when they received all the checks and everything, that's been used up already. So we're now dealing with a consumer and we're dealing with a corporation or businesses which are now very low in cash, so they won't spend, they won't invest, they won't consume. So I think we are heading towards a slow economy and probably lower stock market. Okay? That doesn't mean you shouldn't invest. Investing again, as I think earlier today the first speaker mentioned, is a long-term journey. You should actually invest. You can't time the market. I may say everything very convincingly and the market may still go up. Then how? Okay? So the trick is not to not invest, but how to invest. Okay? So going into the market via what we call dollar cost averaging is one of the ways to try and take out that volatility. Don't invest lump sum. If you have 100,000, go in 10,000, 10,000, even 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. You know, so even the market goes up and down, it doesn't affect you. You can still sleep at night, so to say. Whether you can take on some things like crypto and some other stuff, really you need to sit down with your financial advisor, determine whether you're the type of person with the correct risk profile that can absorb those kind of volatility or not. Different people will be different.
Excellent, thank you very much. Very fast, the first question you're seeing on the screen has gained 13 votes. So I guess the question here is, invested in insurance, investment-linked products, that's ILP, but unsure whether it is Sharia compliant. After maturity, is there a way to purify my gains, or do I close the policy as a whole? Who would like to take that question? Would you want to take that?
We have a
No. Okay, sorry.
It's because sorry, I'm not trying to interject. Just because we have experience in this. So basically, our based on our Sharia advisors, basically, most IOPs here, all IOPs here are non-Sharia compliant, but some can gain access to Sharia compliant funds because IOP, that's how it works. You actually choose your funds. Some don't have Sharia compliant funds. Okay, so for us, the IOPs itself is a vehicle. The more important thing is the funds. So our view is that if you buy into Islamic funds, albeit using conventional ILPs, it's okay. It's like you walk into, for lack of a, because Maybank is that, you walk into Maybank conventional and you buy a Maybank Islamic fund. That's okay. Because at the end you're holding the Islamic fund. That's the important thing. Okay? But if it's an ILP which is conventional, and then you choose a conventional fund, then basically you need to go ahead and start doing purification and so on and so forth.
Okay, good. Any question from the floor?
If I can expand on the similar question on ILP, right? So some ILP products are packaged within an insurance product. So I remember even for myself, prior to my entrance to the Islamic finance industry, I had purchased such policy. The Sharia deliberation pertaining to ILPs, one is if you can identify whether what you purchased are in fact Sharia compliant, whether the funds are Sharia compliant, whether if the invested companies, if you can dive even deeper to see whether they are Sharia compliant. And let's say if in an instance where you find that it is not, okay, so there is the, we know in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَإِن تُبْتُمْ فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُم. So you've already invested an amount, but you find out later that it is not Sharia compliant. So what you do is you can actually withdraw it, but you can actually wait until you reach what you call it. You can withdraw the exact amount that you invested in, or it can be something more. So let's say if you are at the position of loss, okay, some Sharia scholars, they believe that you can actually wait it out until such a time where when you withdraw it, you can actually reclaim your capital invested.
Yes, thank you very much. The next question is, how was investments ever a darura?
Probably targeted to me.
Yeah, I think that needs...
okay. Yeah, so the issue we faced back then was basically, had we not done something like that, i.e. try to pick out what are unit trusts which are basically more Sharia compliant, more permissible, let's put it that way. Okay. The community would have just continued investing whatever they wanted to invest. Totally 100% non-Sharia compliant, without any thought about how many percent is it. So what we did wasn't perfect, but what we did was basically of a lesser evil, so to say. And that's what darurah is. That's why you can go and eat a oink because it's a lesser evil that you have to survive. Okay? And I'll give you a very good example of where sometimes even ourselves, we ask this question in a manner. Okay? I'll tell you one very good example. I am of an opinion that a second housing loan is not permissible because it's a conventional housing loan and you're buying a home for an investment, therefore it is not darurah. Only your first home is using a conventional housing loan is darurah because you need to stay. And I think some of you may agree with me. Second, because you're using a conventional loan, you could buy a second one for investment purpose. To me, that doesn't fall under darurah anymore. Okay? I was on stage before with the previous Mufti. The previous Mufti, his reply was, in his view, it was permissible. So when we asked him why, he said because if the Muslim community does not participate in hartanah, in the property movement, so on and so forth, we will be left behind. So he was looking at it from more the perspective of the community, the maslahah, the good for the community itself. So I just wanted to say, and I think this question also refers to that. If I think the questioner may be thinking, well, if there's an issue with it, don't invest. But if we don't invest, we get left behind. So something along that line.
Excellent. I think that's something I can share on my experience. There's this investment vehicle called REITs. Everyone who have not heard about REITs, it's called Real Estate Investment Trust. The Real Estate Investment Trust is, unlike a dividend asset, must pay out distribution per unit. If you are a profitable company, like earlier, I think one of the speakers said, Meta has started distributing dividend. Meta is a former Facebook. They've started distributing dividend, even if they are very cash-rich company. So companies that are paying out dividend can decide to give dividend or otherwise, or to plow back into their business. Whereas for REITs, they must pay out, I think the minimum is 90% or thereabout. So a REITs company, the Real Estate Investment Trust, must pay out periodically, some of them quarterly, some of them half yearly, and they must pay out the rental yield that they collect. When we were advising on what was used to be a Sharia REIT, which is Sabana, there was a concept of how many percent of impermissible activities would label them as non-compliant. Real estate investment trusts typically will acquire, as the name implies, real estates. So it can be industrial real estates, or it could be commercial real estates, or whatsoever. The question then came out with how many percent of their activity can be non-compliant. There's a threshold, can be determined as Sharia compliant. So that was very interesting. I think Malaysia gave them 20%, if I'm not wrong. 20 and then 5. So what they mean by that is they would allow up to 20% of non-Sharia activity to be part of the REIT assets and yet label them as compliant. And he also said after that they shifted it into 5. Now why is that shift? Because absolutely for the purpose of Darura. So for them to get up to speed and to offer Muslim investors an avenue, similarly as what Sani just mentioned, the concept of Darura comes into play. If not, Muslims will be left behind. For example, even the concept of loan, if you all are familiar with the Murabaha concept, without that, the concept of debt is not possible for Muslims, so entrepreneurship will be highly affected. So Darura is an amazing tool that has allowed Muslims to have something that's been permissible in the past, but the beauty of it is it slowly diminishes, and over time I think they will remove it. Yeah. So I think we can take 2 more questions. If there's any from the floor, we'll take that. Else, I'll just read off the screen. Well, I have to take the which Sharia compliant ETF has the highest long-term return. I think we do not have the database of the global ETF to make that, but that's quite easily you can find from the Google. So we'll leave that. And then let's say, Sunny, there's one that's addressed directly to you. You want to trade that?
Yeah, okay. So traditional stocks and bonds, basically you go to the SGX and you buy shares, okay? Or you sometimes go to the bond market. Not very accessible to the retail players, high amounts, but you can still go there if you have 200,000. If a fund manager goes and buys from the SGX and he goes to buy from the bond market, those funds are typically retail because they deal with basically what we call traditional instruments, stocks and bonds. Okay. The accredited ones sometimes are a little bit more different. Imagine today that you wanted to go and invest in, give me a company which is not listed. Give me your favorite, let's say your favorite warung, okay, Hajjah Maimunah. Hungry. You go to Hajjah Maimunah, you tell Hajjah, I nak invest in your, I love your food, I want to invest in your store. Okay, I want to take 20% stake in your store. Okay, he said fine. That's not listed on the stock market. That's private equity. So that's private equity. The stock market is public equity. Do you get a valuation every day on the private equity? No. You can't value it. Basically, you can, but it's not easy to value. Okay, but public equity every single day there's a price there you can do on the stock market and so on. Okay, another example, private credit. Okay, the one that we're dealing with today is banks recently, past few years, have already moved away from what we call trade financing. Trade financing is when banks come in and they actually finance the import and exports of things. the letter of credit, you may have heard of it. They extend financing for the so-called importation or exportation of goods and services, mini goods, okay, metals and so on and so forth. Okay. So there is a provision of credit there. They've moved away from that. So these funds, they get money from us. Let's say, for example, we are all accredited investors, and then they go to these kind of importers and exporters. We need money. We will lend the money to you, and you then basically use that money to do your import exports. Sharia compliant because Sharia compliant contracts are used. Of course, there's a non-compliant version and there's a compliant version. Is this something very common? Is this very traditional? No. Stocks and bonds, yes, but this is something which is very sophisticated, not for the normal investors. So this is just two examples of what we call more sophisticated for accredited investors, alternative investments.
Excellent. Okay, I've got the signal to end this session. On that note, please join me to thank the speakers for their valuable insights. On that note, we'll end. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, speakers, for the wonderful insights based on the practitioner's perspective as well as from the Sharia scholars' perspective. I would now like to invite Ridwan once again to present the TOAs to our wonderful panelists. Everyone, once again, please give it up for them.